Ladies and gentlemen, soak it in. Welcome back to Araxis. This is Planetside 2. This is alpha footage of Planetside 2, very much so. I popped out to the Sony Online Entertainment studios in San Diego to have a look at Planetside 2, and some people know my history with Planetside, maybe a lot of people don't. Planetside was my first ever MMO. It was the first massively multiplayer game I played after playing little more than MUDs, text-based MUDs. And this game was, at the time, the one and only, and actually kinda still is, if you don't count World War II Online, which I assuredly do not, massively multiplayer online first-person shooter. Now, needless to say, the restrictions at the time did cause a few problems, like netcode issues, warping, lag, and the first-person shooter mechanics were not exactly fantastic. However, things have changed somewhat. And as I bail for my Mosquito with the light assault class with its built-in jetpack, I'm going to show you some night fighting. This was the thing that impressed me the most when I was playing. The fact that the night is dark. This is not full-on night, by the way. It gets even darker than this. The night is dark. And lighting effects really do come into play. Tracer fire into the sky, as you can see, looks absolutely phenomenal. This is a brand new engine, by the way. This engine is called Forge Light. And as you're hopefully going to be seeing over the coverage that I can bring you of this game, it is pretty damn fantastic. Now, I'm a light assault class, and that appears to be a Mag Rider over there. The Mag Rider is a floating hover tank for the Vanu sovereignty, and I'm going to blow it up. Or going to try to blow it up. There you go. Yeah, have some delicious C4! Yeah, the explosion's very much alpha. Before I go on, actually, let me just say everything here is in Studio Alpha. Nowhere near ready. So any weirdness that you see can be attributed to that. But that Mag Rider is now toast. Which is kind of awesome, actually, because I'll tell you this. In the original Planetside, killing a vehicle as an infantryman was a bit difficult. You had to generally do it with a lot of them. And if you were outside as an infantryman and a tank rolled across, chances are you were going to get absolutely destroyed. Ah, dirty new conglomerate smurfy little bastards. Yes, indeed. I'm going to cut a lot of this footage simply because I want to focus on the idea of night fighting and just kind of showing off what night fighting actually looks like. I've got something very cool coming up for you here. Now, we're battling around a large facility, and each of these facilities is absolutely massive, as you can see. Very much lit up. This is a full base. There are a number of points that you can actually capture within it. Those of you who know about the original Planetside would know that there were two ways of capturing a base. One was to hack the control console and hold it for 15 minutes. The other one was to hack the control console and then take what was essentially a flag to another base of yours in order to get the capture. Now, this time around, you've got to capture a number of sub-points, which means that you're not going to have all of the combat centered around one area. Planetside had a lot of problems in the sense that indoor combat could be rather messy. Okay. Someone obviously noticed I was around here. I'm not sure I want to be here anymore. I'm not sure what that is, but it doesn't look pleasant. Oh dear. You know what? I think it's probably time to leave. Ah! Dirty Vanu bastards. There we go. So there are proper hitboxes in this version, as you can tell. Got a headshot there. The original did not have hitboxes, by the way, in terms of being able to headshot people. This has proper locational damage. Taking a couple of them out there. Actually using kind of a heavy assault version of the Cycler. They don't have the mini chain gun in yet. They are putting it in by the sounds of it. The only reason it's not in yet is because they've got to come up with an entirely new set of animations and things like that for one of those underslung weapons as opposed to a rifle style. So at the moment they've got this heavier kind of AR version of the Cycler, which is the Terran Republic main assault rifle. Seems to do the job. There are quite a lot of variants of the various guns in this game. The light assault gets essentially a carbine version of this, and then there's the full-on weapon and the big, fully automatic kind of LMG style of it. Now, here's something new for you. So, they've decided to put jump pads in the game, and a lot of these are very much one way, and they allow you to rapidly traverse from area to area in an otherwise very, very large base. As you can see there, that catapults me all the way across to another battlement. The bases are larger than they were in Planetside, quite significantly so, so holding the walls is a bit tricky, and you're going to have to be doing that during a base assault, so they want you to be able to relocate quite rapidly. They use the jump pads to do exactly that. Of course, if you happen to be a light assault and have a jetpack, that will help too, but you're not going to be able to travel this kind of distance, not by any stretch of the imagination. More often than not, these are, as I said, one way. They've got force fields to stop you going down. This is actually a very easy way of getting out of the main spawn area. You can quickly jump up to the top level by using one of those, as opposed to having a big choke point like the stairs, which was a really big problem in the original Planetside, where you'd essentially get spawn camped and your spawning tubes would get completely locked down. Now, I'll be using a lot of admin commands in these videos to switch between different roles. Here I've switched to an Infiltrator. Now, in the full version, Infiltrators are going to be able to hack turrets. That's not something that's currently implemented. A lot of features are going on and offline for testing in the internal alphas, needless to say, which is why this is not in a full-on open beta yet. It's nowhere near ready. But the Infiltrator has a sniper rifle, also has a cloaking ability, as you might imagine, and can do various nasty things, shenanigans, and so on and so forth. But you do have a lot of customization options to change your loadout around. As you can see, it's got quite a bit dark there, and you can see a lot of tracer fire in the night sky, missiles and flak going off. Bear in mind, there are only a very small number of people on the server as I'm playing this. Planetside is designed for battles of hundreds of people per side. So, you're going to be seeing much, much larger fights than this. Now, perhaps you'd like to see something fun. How about just a little bit of flak in the night sky? Oh yeah. Needless to say, not quite working yet. There you go. Now that's what I'm talking about. The game actually looks astonishing in its current state. It really, really does. The thing that blows me away about this is that you've got these fairly dark nights that are going to look unbelievable when you've got a lot of people actually fighting in them. Night fighting is something that the original Planetside had, but it wasn't really night. It was just kind of a purpley sort of haze. Now it's full on night. It is quite dark here. The darkness may even vary depending on what continent you happen to be on. And as a result, tracer fire lights up the night sky. There you go. There's another example of that. Does that not remind you of war movies? It certainly should. As far as I'm concerned, that's an absolutely fantastic feature to have in a persistent MMO first-person shooter. Battles don't end in this game. You log onto the server, you fight, you log off, the battle is continuing while you are not there. That's a major thing. At the moment in the alpha, the explosive AoE damage isn't working properly, by the way, which is why you're seeing me not take down that plane. But I just wanted to show it off because it looks absolutely awesome. I can just imagine this times 50. Because that's what it's going to be. That's what a base fight's going to be. You're going to be seeing tracer fire all over the place, vehicles falling from the sky, mass ranks of tanks rolling in. It was the thing which stayed with me the most from the original Planetside. The scale. Something that you can't get from any other first-person shooter. You simply couldn't. You couldn't do it because they didn't support enough players. But in this case, well, they kind of do. And this is what excites me about this game, the huge amount of scale involved in it. Alright, okay, I'm done with the flak for the moment because, well, quite frankly, it's not working all that well, so let's try something else. Now, I'm going to switch over to a new conglomerate heavy assault, which happens to have an anti-vehicle and anti-air rocket launcher, so those aircraft are bothering me a little bit. We'll see if we can find one. As much as I'd like to get into the turret, this base is not actually owned by the new conglomerate. This is actually a Vanu base, so if I am to be Vanu, I could use that. I'd say sadly I am not, but you know what? I don't really know if I want to be a dirty Barney or a dirty Smurf. I would prefer being neither of those things. I'm sorry, I'm very loyal to the Terran Republic. That was something the Planetside instilled in people, the idea of faction loyalty, because you were constantly fighting for one faction. And it was absolutely astonishing. Right, there seems to be a lot of flak going in from that direction. It looks like a Vanu turret actually firing there. I could go and smash that up if I so desire, but you know what? I'd prefer to try and blow something out of the sky with this launcher here. I'm absolutely blown away by the lighting quality of this engine. Just, the base looks great, and it's colourful as well. It's not grimy. It looks like a top-tier AAA game, but it's freaking colourful, which is not something that you usually see in first-person shooters, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Alright, now I'd like to try and take him down if at all possible. But even the rockets, as they fire, they streak into the night sky with this wonderful glow to them. It's fantastic. If I squee a bit, it's because I have a long history with this game, and this version looks astonishingly exciting. It really, really does. I am thrilled to have had the chance to actually play this, and I believe our channel is the first to bring you this unedited, unfiltered footage from the game itself. Everything else has been at shows. This is full-on gameplay directly from the machine. Alright, you want to see the turret? Okay, we can do that. So I'm going to jump in this turret. There are actually two kinds of turrets, by the way, on a lot of these larger bases, on two separate levels of battlements. There's one that is very, very useful for taking down aircraft and infantry, and the other which is very useful for anti-vehicle. Turrets were not especially good in the original Planetside. They were actually pretty terrible. Incidentally, that zoom-in function is once again an alpha thing. It's not rendering properly. It won't look like that. Now, I wish this was a target-rich environment. Unfortunately, it is not. You'll also notice there's capture points outside of the base area. Not everything is inside the walls, so it can be a little bit difficult to defend everything. There are still towers in the game, like the previous Planetside. You know, this is really hard to explain without just fanboying out. And I'm not the kind of person that generally does that, but good God! It's amazing. It's just so incredible. Now, there's a tank over there. That's actually friendly. And we've been holding on to this facility for quite some time, which means we have control of the territory, which means we're gathering resources, which we can use to spawn vehicles and all manner of other good stuff. Perhaps I should jump onto a different kind of turret. Let's see if we can actually find a target to shoot at. That's the real problem with when I was playing, sadly. We missed out on the big playtest, which would have actually had a lot more players in, but that was just the way. It was a really, really busy day. Hopefully I'll be able to revisit this in the not too distant future. Well, that didn't go down so well for him, did it? Absolutely not. Also notice the headlights. The headlights actually have a use because you really do need to be able to see. It's very difficult to do so if you don't have headlights. It's very easy to miss infantry that can come around your flank, C4 your tank, shoot you with a rocket launcher, all manner of other unpleasant things. Jump down here to a different kind of turret so we can see if we can do any damage with this thing. Now, it looks like there's a rather slow-moving aircraft. You may recognize the silhouette of that aircraft as a Liberator. Now, it seems to be coming into land. Usually, I wouldn't use a turret like this to try and shoot one of these things down. It's not exactly the ideal choice, and indeed, an anti-air turret would have made much, much more sense, although it looks like that Vanu's Scythe is going to make fairly short work of it. The Vanu's Scythe being a air superiority kind of fighter that can really turn on a dime. To the point where the development team just said, yeah, this is overpowered right now. We really have to do something about it. I am looking for a target. Everything gets stolen from me. I'm sure I can find something. Maybe there'll be something on the ground that I can actually aim at here. Let's get out the rocket launcher for the Vanu. Well, let's see what we got. Hello. That looks like a Prowler. Now that is definitely worth shooting at. Don't know if it went up there, but we do have something of a target-rich environment over there. It's difficult to see what we're shooting at because, hey, it is a night fight, needless to say. There we go. There's a friendly Mag Rider tank out here, which will prove to be rather effective. You know what? I'm going to jump on this gun over here. Oh, yeah. Now things are getting rolling. So this is the second gun of the Mag Rider tank. In this version, the driver actually fires the turret, which is something that wasn't really in the original Planetside, but they've made that kind of battlefield-style change. The problem is that you are very, very vulnerable to being attacked from the air. There aren't just a couple of aircraft in this. Say you think about Battlefield, maybe there's a jet or two up in the air, maybe a helicopter. No, there's a lot. There are a lot of aircraft here. That was the CEO of Sony Online Entertainment. He goes by the name of John Smedley, and he is now very, very dead, which is wonderful. But you have to have a second guy in your tank. You really, really do. Otherwise, you're going to be so, so very vulnerable to that. Oh my, we've got a new conglomerate Vanguard tank behind us. We blew up one earlier. It's looking to try and avenge its friend by the looks of it. Unfortunately, this tank setup at the moment, the configuration this vehicle currently has, seems to be lacking in terms of turret armament that can actually take that down. Although we did a fairly significant amount of damage to the tank, it caught fire as well, so that's not too shabby. And I just love the way that fire actually looks in the night here. You'll see the continent map here. It goes by the name of Indar. There are a couple of other continents coming up. Not even sure if I'm actually allowed to tell you. I will check one way or the other. Ugh. Well, that was a nasty headshot. He had so little health as well. Oh well, never mind. I can already tell that I'm going to be annoyed by light assaults just because they're little jet-packing insects. Ah! Horrendous. Keep a big gun as far as I'm concerned. You also saw me very easily rising to the ground floor of the base by using one of those elevators. You can just go the traditional way as well, because there may be a lot of fighting around this area too, but using these tubes does make things a hell of a lot easier. You can also kind of go out of these windows, fire from these areas. He's here again! Son of a bee. I hate the new conglomerate. I hate them with a fiery passion. Horrible, horrible creatures. Maybe we can get some revenge on him. Assuming we can actually find him. We've actually got a couple of troopers on the field now as more people are joining the playtest, which is wonderful. Got a vehicle out front there. That's one of ours. That's a Mag Rider, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Nice angled designs on these things. The Vanu Sovereignty, for those who don't know, which of course I would imagine are many, are the technologically orientated faction of this particular universe. So they have very alien-looking designs, and their signature color is purple, which is why, of course, they're called Barneys. Get down here. None of that nonsense, thank you very much. Good lord. Reload animations aren't quite done, but I like the way that they've actually got these very futuristic holographic sights on the Vanu weapons, whereas you've got some much more traditional kind of iron sight, reflex sight sort of stuff on the other factions, and they do make an effort to have a reasonable distinction there. Now, I'd like to demonstrate the effects of headlights. You can see them on the ground there, the green headlights, which I might add are actually customizable things in the game at the moment. They're looking to do all sorts of different things with their microtransactions, including the ability to buy different colored headlights. This particular Mag Rider has green headlights. But notice just how much easier it is to actually see something in front of you because of the headlamp effect. So they do actually have an in-game purpose. Mag Riders handle very, very fluidly, although they still have a feeling of weight to them. They're floaty, as you might imagine, but they're still big tanks. They are hover tanks, so they have a tendency of handling just like that. Now, I'm parking over here just so that I can capture this sub point. You can see that at the moment it's the new conglomerate and the Vanu Sovereignty that are contesting this particular base, with the Vanu slightly winning in terms of the number of points they've captured. Let's get this thing rolling, shall we? Oh, hello. That's a Vanguard. That's something we might want to watch out for. Thankfully, the front-mounted gun of this thing is extremely potent, very, very dangerous. You can also boost yourself forward quite nicely there as well, so we're right on top of him. Usually duking it out with a guy like this is a little bit unwise. He's actually driven under me because, hey, I'm a hover tank, and up he goes. Parts of the vehicles will actually be destroyed and come to pieces when the vehicle dies, and indeed the physics engine allows for the bottom half of the vehicle to continue rolling forward in some instances, which is rather neat. The debris also stays on the field. I don't know how long it's going to stay there for, but you can actually use that as cover. I was able to actually jump on top of the vehicle. I didn't just float straight through it. Using an admin command here to spawn another vehicle. I'm going to grab myself a Mosquito. At least I was, if there wasn't a lightning tank blowing up my Mosquito. So I think it's about time to take cover. Infantry warfare outside has always been a very dicey prospect in Planetside because vehicles were so powerful. They kind of still are here, but the troops have been given additional ways to actually deal with them, which is nice. Notice I was using a jump pad there. That could have gotten me to the top of that tower. I'm just going to wait for that lightning tank to leave, or alternatively, I am going to drop the Mosquito on top of my head. Not a particularly smart thing to do, is it? No, 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 it is not. Also, a lot more spawning options, as you can see. The original Planetside was quite limited as to where you could spawn, and as a result, you ended up being camped a lot. Hello. Smurfy, Smurfy. It's at this point that I'm trying to work out what the melee key is, and I failed miserably to do just that. I activate my personal force field, and then, oh god, get him, stab him, stab him. There we go. Dealt with. Now, I'm going to conclude the video by showing a little bit more fly-past footage with the Mosquito, just to show you what the continent looks like at night, and then we'll transition through to a day cycle to show you the stark differences between the two. Indeed, you can actually see that it's kind of approaching dawn. There's a little bit of light off in the distance there as a galaxy dropship circles the area. Alright, let's grab ourselves a Mosquito, shall we? Spawning Vehicle 9, which is the admin command for Mosquito. It's a little bit wonky, but we'll get there. There we go. And now we are fully airborne. Each vehicle is going to have its own cockpit. The cockpits are actually going to be specific per faction, which is very, very cool. But there's a lot of placeholder cockpits currently in the alpha. I absolutely love the outside view. I really, really do. Look at that. The boosters are absolutely phenomenal. And actually what really impresses me is the sound of it. This sounds like a jet aircraft. It really, really does. And only games like Battlefield 3 have really been able to match that. You can also do full inversions with these vehicles, which you were not able to do in the original Planetside, although the vehicles are still vertical takeoff and landing. And there's quite the sight. Oh yes, Warpgate. These are used for getting between different continents, but in Planetside 2 they're also used as safe zones. In the original game you had a safe zone called the Sanctuary, which is where everyone could spawn, nobody could shoot each other, and then you jetted off to various continents. Here, each of the warp gates is actually a safe zone for that particular faction. It can be used as a foothold, but it's also very easy to contain you in. You can be sieged in that area, so it's a little bit dangerous. See the light flare off the moon there as we move around and get quite a little bit of height in the view distance, even in the alpha with the view distance turned down, because of course it's not an optimized client yet. It does have some performance issues one way or the other. I'm sorry, I just have this tendency to jump out of aircraft. That's the way that I am, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. We can bring up a new one here. Now I'm gonna switch the daytime over so that we transition out of this murky gloom into something just a little bit brighter. Just going to pop in an admin command to change the time of day on this continent, and suddenly, there we go, it's just a little bit brighter. Obviously this is kind of a desert area, so visibility is fairly limited, although we can go just a tad higher, and maybe we'll get a little bit more. And there you go, as you can see, this desert continent right here in the full glare of sunlight. And that was your first look at Planetside 2 on this particular channel. There's a hell of a lot more where that came from. Obviously, I've got quite a lot of footage, and I'll hopefully be getting a heck of a lot more. I just want to cap off by saying that Planetside is easily one of my top 5 games of all time because it has some really defining moments that were never replicated in any other game. So it's only fitting that those moments should be brought back to life with a second version of the game, and it's awesome to see that SOE have actually green-lighted it, and have obviously put such a hell of a lot of work into it thus far. It's nowhere near ready, but it still looks phenomenal. Absolutely 110% triple A. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this. It's going to be a free-to-play, massively multiplayer online first-person shooter, and that is my terrible flying skill. My name's been Totalbiscuit.